FM, the key in Noonan, Georgia.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good afternoon, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Get to your lines for NFL Week 14, but before that, Army-Navy square off Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll have it right here on youtube.com/@BravesCountry. Midshipmen are a 3-point favorite over the Army Black Knights. Game opened up as a pick'em on Monday. The over-under is 32.5. National Football League week number 14 starts off with the bang as the Jaguars are at the Titans. Tennessee is a 3.5-point favorite over Jacksonville. The over-under is 41. Cowboys at the Texans. A mighty line is Dallas, a 17.5-point favorite over Houston. Over-under 44. Jets and Bills, also a 1 o'clock kickoff. New York is getting 10. The number is 43. Bengals host the Browns. Cleveland has had Cincinnati's number, but they're a 5.5-point underdog. The over-under 46.5. Vikings at the Lions. That number has swung into Detroit's favor. Detroit, -2, over-under 51. Eagles and Giants. New York getting 7, over-under 44.5. And the Ravens and Steelers renew their rivalry. Pittsburgh, a 2-point favorite. The over-under 36.5. 4:05 kickoff. Kansas City is a 9.5-point favorite in Denver. The over-under 44. America's Game of the Week. 4:25 Eastern on Fox. The Buccaneers are getting 3.5 in San Fran, with the number being 37. And Sunday Night Football should be a shootout. Dolphins -3 at the Chargers. LA and Miami 52.5. Monday Night Football, you see the Patriots go west to Arizona. Cardinals are getting a 1.5, and the over-under is 43.5. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for Braves Country right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, the key in Noonan, Georgia, simulcasting on youtube.com/BravesCountry.
Armchair.
Why did you get so drunk?
You got drunk. I'm just really exhausted.
What's in that cup?
GAMECOCKS.
Do you have any idea how important this is? We're trying to save the pump. Really? This is what you're doing? This is what you're doing?
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
Chief, what do you want to do tonight?
Same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world.
106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Armchair.
YouTube Live.
Radio station.
The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station?
I like everything. It's always on my radio.
We never stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
You're listening to Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We're here live weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@Braves Country. Your first choice for Southern sports. Good afternoon. I'm Mac McGee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. Us Braves fans are starting to get a little nervous. We see the rest of the division making moves, and we haven't hardly done a thing. It's Facebook Friday. Let's go.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man.
Yeah, howdy, hi, and how the hell are you? Welcome to Braves Country here on Armchair Quarterbacks Radio, coming to you live on WQEE in Noonan, Georgia, in the Atlanta, Georgia market. And we are here weekdays 3 to 5 p.m. And we typically are on several different platforms. We're only doing our Facebook live on our Facebook page on Fridays, so we don't over inundate you. If you want to see us every day and comment, by all means, come in with the comments. We're on YouTube, and that's the best place to find us if you're not in the Noonan area. If you're in the Noonan area, 99.1 FM. Okay, let's go ahead and get into what's going on in the world of sports. I've got Bobby on the way. We're going to be talking some football. So I want to get some baseball out of the way really quick, because we're looking at essentially a bunch of teams in the National League that are making moves. And obviously it looks like the Padres are going all in. That's very obvious. They go out and get Xander Bogaerts. They tried to get Aaron Judge. The list goes on and on. Then you have what the Mets did yesterday. And if you missed that, the Mets brought back Brandon Nimmo, which I thought was a key signing for them. I think they overpaid, to be perfectly honest with you. But I do think that it was a key. Brandon Nimmo, to me, is like the DANSBY SWANSON of their team. He is a guy that you may not be blown away by his statistics necessarily, but he is a spark plug, a clubhouse leader. He plays the game the right way. And I would like to see the Braves take the initiative of what the Mets did and make sure DANSBY comes home. But it's the more and more, the longer and longer it gets, the bleaker it gets. Now, I do believe that the Braves are going to try to sign him. Don't get me wrong on that. I don't think they're just ready to let him go. But they've got a ceiling, and that ceiling, obviously, they're not going to let everybody know their hand. But you have to look at the ceiling. I remember David O'Brien of the Atlanta Journal, used to be Atlanta Journal, but now he's with the Athletic. He at one point made the comment that he felt like that the number is at 22. I feel like to sign DANSBY, you've got to be a lot higher than that. I don't believe that the 22 is going to get it done. Now, I'm not saying you have to be a ridiculous. I think he's looking for 25 a year, which is what his AAV value is being set at right now. Right now, I think Spot Track actually has it at, let me double check. Yeah, 24.8. So right at 25. I think a 6-year deal, 25 a year would get it done. And I know that gives some people pause, but what that guy means to the locker room. So if you fast forward to opening day, DANSBY will be 29 years old. So you'd have him for 29, 30, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It'd be through his age 34 year. I think 6'150" probably gets it done. And it shows him that you value him. And it also lets him stay at home. Maybe you get it a little bit under. Maybe you ask him to give you a 7th year at a cheaper rate. So maybe you get it done at 160, 165. Or maybe you don't have to go that 7th year and you go 6 years. But if you go 5 years, I think you're going to have to give him more than what the 24 a year is, because all these other guys are getting 7, 8, 9. Heck, Turner got an 11-year deal. It's just not going to happen. So to bring him back would be key. Right now, if you're missing out on what the Atlanta Braves did and have done in the offseason, it really is minimal. But at this point, what they have done is they made that trade, and I did like the trade where they got Joe Jimenez from Detroit. The relief pitcher, they coveted him. There was rumors about him coming to Atlanta last year. Now, I know a lot of people don't like the fact that they gave up Malloy, the Braves' #1 prospect as far as batters go. He was number 6 overall in the Braves organization. But the Braves are pretty loaded across the board, and he was being set to play most likely third base or first base. Now, they started to pivot him towards left field because when you lock up Austin Riley for as long as you did, and you have Olsen over at first base for another 7 years, there's not a whole lot of movement. Now, granted, you do worry about injuries and whatnot, but the injury, that would be just a thing that you're going to have to try to make a trade for, or look at kids that are currently in the system that you're going to try to move in that direction. Then, of course, you got the draft coming this year. So right now, Atlanta is sitting at, they got Jesse Chavez and Nick Anderson at the very beginning. And Chavez's deal is one of those things where if he makes the major league roster, it's one number. If he doesn't, he could be DFA'd. It's a minor league deal with a major league stipulation. But outside of that, I think that you're looking at guys right now that are out there on the cusp of getting signed. Realize Kenley Jansen wasn't coming back. Kenley Jansen wanted to be a closer. He went to Boston 2 years, $32 million. That's great for him. We're getting Jimenez at a much better rate. We also got some cash thrown back towards our way. So you have to look at that as a positive in what they might be pursuing in the free agent. Do I think they're done? They're not done. If they don't get Dansby, they're probably going to sign someone. I saw Iglesias' name being flipped around out there. I think it's more likely that they go back and get Elvis Andrews, and it would be more of a situation where he's not expected to be the starter on opening day. The starter on opening day would most likely be Vaughn Grissom, but he would be there to do a couple of things, and one of them would be to give him days off, or if he's slumping, let him have a step back. But when you look at what's available out there, they're not going to get Carlos Correa. Fans have just got to stop it with that. Carlos Correa, his market value right now is sitting at an estimated $32 million. If they're not going to pay Dansby 25, they're not going to pay Carlos Correa $32 million. Iglesias is sitting at 505. He's 33 years old. He's an interesting sign. I think you're better off possibly getting Elvis Andrews. You could probably get Andrews, honestly, on a 1 year deal. I think Iglesias is looking for 2 or 3 year deal, but they've got about the same skill set. That's why their market value is about the same. And Andrews' market value is actually being estimated about $500,000 less, but they're almost the same age. Andrews has them by about a year, and they're both good defensive players, and that's about where it ends. So outside of that, you have to start looking at what are the Atlanta Braves thinking about doing in the outfield, because if you don't fill up your offense in shortstop, in other words, get a good hitter at the top of the lineup at the shortstop position, which would not be the case. If you don't get Dansby, the shortstop's not hitting in the top half of the lineup. He's just not. Grissom or Andrews would start off at the very bottom of the lineup. But you're looking at outfielders that would be available right now and what would be realistic. You know, Michael Brantley's an interesting one. He's 35, going to be 36 years old, but he's a good, solid professional hitter. I don't think he's looking for a long-term deal. You could probably get him at 1 or 2 years. Remember, you still have Eddie Rosario out there. So would they be looking for a right-handed stick? And if that's the case, I see Will Myers' name, and I also see A.J. Pollock's name floated around. The problem with them, and though the right-handed hitters, their market value at this point is much higher than I think the Braves want to pay. So then you pivot back to an old familiar friend, and that's Adam Duvall. Adam Duvall's somewhat a reasonable deal right now. It's at his market value is being set at 6.9. I think the Braves could get him much lower than that. I think you're talking about 4 to 5. You know, considering his injuries that he's coming off of. He's 34, and he genuinely likes being a Brave. I think that could be where they could pivot. They're not going to get Benintendi. Benintendi, we're talking about $17 million. Tommy Pham is an interesting one. I know the fan base probably wouldn't like him because he's at odds with Jock Peterson, but from a baseball standpoint, Tommy Pham is a decent but aging right-handed batter. Another right-handed batter that you could possibly go for, but you're going to have to pony up there. If you're going to pony up there, I say go for Dansby, and that would be Jurickson Profar because his market value is being set at around $15 million. Another old familiar name that's out there, it's obviously a free agent, and he's a switch hitter, is Robbie Grossman. But I don't think they want to bring him and his value at $7 million. If you're going to have him at $7 million, then what the hell are we talking about? I mean, I would rather have Adam Duvall. Grossman really did nothing down the stretch. Duvall's got a lot better or a lot more versatility in the outfield as far as being a good defender, and he brings more pop. The other names, usual suspects that are out there, and I'm looking at right-hander just because they have Rosario and they've got him signed to a 3-year deal. So you got 2 more years left on this deal. You kind of have to feel like that at some point you've got to make this try to work. And a lot of folks will bring up Ozuna. Got to trade Ozuna. The problem is I don't think anyone's going to trade for Ozuna. We're stuck with him. He's averaging $16 million a year for the next 2 years. You're either going to see if he can turn it around, or you're going to end up with Ozuna being DFA'd because you're not going to get anything in a trade with him. Not at this stage. That's the one move that I would say out of all the moves that Anthopoulos, if he could have back, it would be the Ozuna move. Because if you didn't have Ozuna on the roster right now, I think Dansby would have already been locked up. I think they would have had the financial flexibility. And with that being said, they probably would have already locked up Dansby. It probably would have already said, you know what, we'll go ahead and bring Duvall back and we'll just platoon left field. But the other names of interest that would be out there for Atlanta, as far as because I'm looking for a right-handed bat to complement Rosario's left-handed bat. Guillermo Heredia is not an option. He's already signed a deal to go to the KBO, in case you might have missed that, because that kind of flies under the radar if you're watching national stuff. There's not a whole lot else out there unless you're just going to take a flyer on a guy and hope he can turn things around, like a guy with speed, like a Billy Hamilton, right? He's out there. You've got, I mean, there's a few names out here that you could just kind of throw and see what sticks against the wall. But realistically, we've gone over all the main names, the ones that folks would be happy with in any kind of deal in left field. There's not a lot of outfield options out there right now. And maybe that's why Duvall will get the 7 that he's looking. And if that's the case, I don't think the Braves are going to bring him back for 7. I think he's going to have to give them a quote unquote hometown discount. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Bobby is joining us, and we are going to be talking the National Football League Week 14 and also get into his Gators. The Gators got a big recruit coming their way. And who's going to play in the bowl game, which is just a week away, with Anthony Richardson has already opted out. And then, of course, Kitna kicked off the team for his weird thing that he did. And so we're going to get into that and much, much more. We will be back in a flash here on Braves Country. You're riding shotgun here on WQEE with the Armchair Quarterbacks. Hey, sports fans, The Key has a brand new show. Braves Country is coming your way weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We'll be talking the Atlanta Braves and Major League Baseball, along with everything important to sports fans in Braves Country. The SEC, ACC, Big Ten, and the National Football League, and the big sports news of the day. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE, The Key, 99.1 FM, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@Braves Country.
Do you want to lose 18 pounds fast and improve your health? Now you can lose up to 18 pounds in your first 2 months with Nutrisystem. Get delicious breakfasts, lunches, dinners, even snacks and shakes delivered safely to your door. All delivered for free. It's easy to follow, and you'll see results in your first week. You'll get your favorite foods made healthier and perfectly balanced to put your body in fat-burning mode. Millions of people have lost weight with Nutrisystem, and you can too. Lose up to 18 pounds in your first 2 months.
You get a whole lot of something with Farmers Policy Perks. So much, I'm going to have to speed things up. You can get the Farmers Signal app, and that could get you up to 15% off your auto policy. That's just for using the app and driving like the normal speed limited hearing, full stop making lane change signaling human being you are. Get a whole lot of something with Farmers Policy Perks. Start with a quote by calling 1-800-FARMERS.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Are you an adult?
Yeah.
And do you have a lot going on in your life?
I am so busy.
Introducing fantasy football.
What's that?
Move aside job and relationships. You're now the general manager of a football team, and that takes a lot of time and effort.
I really shouldn't be doing this. It's not good for me.
With fantasy football, you can spend hours researching useless stats, have your underlying anger issues revealed on Sundays, and Venmo people hundreds of dollars with a football emoji.
Well, I'll get that money back when I win the championship.
You say that every year.
Okay, this year is different. I have been so unlucky in the past.
Why would you need to know about world news or how a Roth IRA works when you could know who the Saints wide receiver 3 is?
Chris Olave. But I think he'll be the number 1 by the end of the year because Michael Thomas.
Shut up.
I used to think fantasy football was fun, but it's not fun anymore. I have a lot riding on this emotionally.
Try it today.
Armchair.
You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia. Home of Braves country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks, weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on The Key and YouTube.com at Braves Country.
You know, Gilbert, I feel different already, like more mature.
Yeah, looks like we're in for quite a change.
I'll say, parties, meeting new people, this is really going to be great.
Oh no, just relax, be yourself.
Ogre, 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 ogre.
Well, anyway, college is a whole new ballgame.
Ogre, ogre.
People judge you differently than they did in high school.
Ogre, 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 ogre.
Where are they?
Nerds, nerds, nerds.
Come on, Louis.
Welcome back. You're listening to Braves Country here on WQEE. And joining us is Mr. Bobby. Bobby, how the hell are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm ready for a good football weekend. I see your comment there. Maverick, his AAV estimated is actually $25 million at this point. So that's where I'm getting the 6 for 150. It would be 6 for 144 because his average annual value estimate is, I mean, it's right below it. It's like 24.9 right now. They just updated it. So that's where, you know, obviously you just round up. So that's why you would get that there. And if you trade Ozuna, you're going to have to foot the bill. So you're not saving any money. I can tell you that right now. That is a wrap. You're not saving any money if you have to trade Ozuna. And so that's why they're not willing to trade Ozuna, because Ozuna is going to cost them $16 million to go sit on someone else's roster and hit 25 home runs. They're hoping that they can hold on to him and he can get to where he was just a couple of years ago and go from there and maybe trade him at his highest value, or you just write out the contract. But if you trade Ozuna, you're footing the bill. You're not clearing space. This isn't MLB The Show, right? You're not going, hey man, I get rid of this guy. That's not how these GMs do, because they're going to say, okay, if we pay his bill, then you've got to give us like 3 of your top prospects, and the Braves aren't going to do that. So that's where we're at there. But let's get into the National Football League in a second. Before we jump into that, Bobby, your Gators got some pretty exciting news, getting the number 1 dual threat quarterback And in previous years, that just meant some guy that couldn't play quarterback, they're going to put him at they're going to put him at wide receiver. But I think nowadays it means he has a legitimate shot to actually be a quarterback. Are you excited and are you confident that he stays?
Extremely. I'm hoping we get the best from either Rashada or Lagway, whoever starts in the next few years. That'll probably be an interesting quarterback battle to see. But you know, number 2 quarterback in the class, number 7 overall. I like what we're getting here, and I'm looking forward to 2024 when he's coming in.
I'll tell you what I was excited about is the fact that the Florida State is getting their quarterback back for one more year.
Yep, along with their left tackle.
What's that?
Along with their left tackle too.
Correct. That one didn't shock me as much because he wasn't being projected very high, and it wasn't that Travis was being projected high. I was concerned he might leave because he might have just been ready to leave college. I mean, the dude's long in the tooth, right?
Yeah.
But I think he made the smart move. He'll make money off of NIL. He has a very good chance to be in the early conversation for Heisman, and you can spin that into money nowadays. And all the power to him. I was one of his biggest. I never pulled against him, but always questioned his ability, and he proved me wrong. And he's one heck of a college quarterback. I don't know what he'll be on the next level, but I don't really care. Like that's I think he can at least be a serviceable backup in the National Football League, and he's the kind of guy that can turn that into a 10-year career and hit all the pension numbers and be ready to roll.
Absolutely.
Okay. So who's going to play quarterback at the bowl game?
Quarterback situation is looking rough to wrap up this season, but we got sophomore quarterback Jack Miller coming in. He's getting the start. It's going to be the first start of his career, actually. But on the plus side, he's 6'4", 210, so he has the same build as Anthony Richardson. So I guess Napier's working with similar quarterback size-wise. So we'll see what he draws up and how we can play with him at quarterback.
So I'm looking at this. What is he saying? Go get Rodon. Rodon is looking for a 7-year deal. He is not signing for $15 million. Rodon? Wow. Rodon? Come on now. I wish that were true, but if he was looking for a 7-year deal at $15 million, someone would have already snatched him up. There's no way he signs for $15 million. Carlos Rodon, when you look at what Jacob deGrom just got, $40 million, right? And well, no, it was just under $40 million. But look at what Verlander got. And he's supposed to be just a ring below that. He's looking for like $30 million. And I think that's why a lot of people are really hesitant to sign him to a long-term deal. He got $22 million on a short deal last year that he had an opt-out because it was a 2-year, $44 million. There's no way he signs for that. But anyways, back to the football. The one thing that I'm going to circle back to this, I don't know how many times until they get it right. I really wish these bowl games were next August. I really wish that they would just let the teams head to the showers over Christmas and call it a day. And maybe you focus on the HBCU team, the playoffs, and maybe you focus on the Division II and Division III and try to hype that up on ESPN. But you would get much better viewing audience if you did the bowl games at the beginning of the year. You would get all the players to play. And so a lot of these lines that are scrolling across your screen right now on our YouTube feed, they're going to get locked at any second because so-and-so is going to declare for the draft, right? Or so-and-so is going to say, you know what, I'm not declaring for the draft, but I don't think I want to play. I don't want to get hurt.
When you're starting to see players who are even in the playoffs, taking it off, like Njigba, Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio State. He's not playing at all. And granted, I know he was injured going into this, but I think he's healthy now. But he still decided to opt out to preserve his draft stock.
That doesn't really surprise me because he's being projected as possibly the top receiver in the draft.
And he hasn't really played like it this year.
And he hasn't played a whole lot this year, and he could be Jamar Chase 2.0, right? And
I don't know. I wouldn't put him on that level, but right now he's probably going to be a mid first round pick or so, and you're just trying to protect that stock. Doesn't want to risk injury.
When he gets to the combine, I'm just going off of what he was before he got injured this year. He was the #1 receiver in the draft.
Yeah, and
so I beg to differ. He's going to be a top receiver unless there's something wrong with him that we're not being so. And he's coming from a pedigree where if you grab a receiver from, people might hate the Ohio State University, but if you get a receiver from Ohio State, their track record is proven. I mean, Garrett Wilson, you got to say that he's got to be the best receiver, the best rookie receiver this year, right?
Him and Olave are neck and neck, and they're both Ohio State.
Chris Olave, and they were both Buckeyes.
Yep. Their wide receiver factory is crazy.
As far as talent wise, I'd probably go Pickett. I can't go off of production, but I'm going off of talent. But I don't think that's all necessarily his fault. Yep. I think they're in a transition in the Pittsburgh offense. But anyways, I am one of these people that says, when in doubt, draft an Ohio State receiver, an Alabama running back, an offensive lineman from the SEC or the Big Ten, and a defensive lineman south of the Mason-Dixon line.
I like that. I like that strategy.
If you follow that blueprint, you're going to have more playoff wins than most. And then you go out west to find your quarterbacks sometimes, and sometimes they do have receivers. But that's when in doubt, I'm going Ohio State and Alabama at this juncture. And nowadays, if it's a defensive player, I want a Georgia Bulldog.
Absolutely. You got two good ones, at the top of their positions in this draft. You got Jalen Carter, obviously, and then you got Nolan Smith, who's, I think he's still injured, but still one of the top edges in this draft.
So past that, we get into, okay, I guess we need to go ahead and get your stupid underdog pick before I get too sidetracked. And let me get those numbers out. And also give you who is taken and kind of give you an idea. I don't think I sent you who's taken because it's organically built throughout the week now because we do the show every day. It's not like we used to. But, Doug has taken the Cleveland Browns +6. I've taken the Jets +7, and Joey took the Giants. Jets +10 and the Giants +7 is Joey. And you are, what is that? 8.5 points in front of me. I've barely slipped in front of Doug. Doug is you're at 42. He's at 32. I'm at 33.5. And everyone else is much further behind. So where are you going on your stupid underdog? And just real quick for people who don't know what it is, the stupid underdog, we take the winner of an underdog game, football game, college or pro. If that team wins outright, you get the points that they are underdog with. If they cover, you get 2. If they don't cover, it's -2.
All right, so I was looking at Giants +7.5 and Jets +10. That's who I've had written down. But a team I could see pull off an upset this week is the Chargers, and I don't have the number offhand, but I think it's not a very widespread. But
last time, let me refresh the page real quick. Last time I saw it, it was around 4-ish. Let me see what it is. 3. Miami Miami -3. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think the Chargers are in a position where they have to start winning if they're going to want a shot at the playoffs. And, I know they've been battling injuries, but Brandon Staley is kind of on his last leg here. He's running out of excuses. The team hasn't been great, but if he can will his team into the playoffs, I could see him keeping his job for another season at least. So everyone from here on out is pretty much what must win for the Chargers. So I think they could pull out this win.
Are you a little shocked that, and look, I know that Doug took them as a stupid underdog pick, but there's a reason why we call them stupid underdogs, because we're just hoping, but we don't necessarily believe they're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
But are you a little shocked that the Bengals are not a bigger favorite than they are around the? So right now it's actually moved to 5.5, but when he took it, it was 6 on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the Bengals to win that by a hefty margin. I get he's kind of shaking the rust off, but Watson didn't look great last week. And they'll probably have to rely on the run game again, just assuming that Watson's not fully back into midseason form or anything. So I'd take the Bengals to cover. And yeah, the Browns, they probably wouldn't be high on my list of stupid underdog teams.
They're, and I don't know if you go back and look at the schedule. The Browns smoked them in Cleveland, 32-13. I watched that game. It wasn't even that close. It felt like that game was over. But I feel like that the Bengals are playing much better football.
Absolutely.
And
yeah, they're a much better team now.
I think they're going to – there's going to be a learning curve, obvious, when you bring Watson in, who hasn't played in almost 2 years, and he's never played for this team.
Mm-hmm.
And that offense was atrocious last week. The Cleveland Browns last week, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't all 3 of their touchdowns come off of 2 defensive and 1 special teams?
I believe so. Yeah, defense and special teams willed them to that win. Their offense was non-existent.
Watson last week, it was a 53.4 passer rating. I knew it was low.
Yeah, I think he had 112 yards and no touchdowns, a pick. Wasn't a good showing.
So he was 12 of 22 for 131 and a pick, and he did have 21 yards rushing, so 152 total yards.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at it across the board, it was essentially the Chubb and Hunt show, and I kind of figure that's what they're going to try to do with Cincinnati. The problem with that is the Bengals have a pretty good run defense.
Mm-hmm.
And if they, let's say from a positive standpoint for the Bengals, let's say they get out in front early and you're going to force the Browns to try to play from behind. I don't think they have it in them quite yet.
I'm with you. And, I think the Browns' strategy on Sunday should just be run the ball, try and take as much air out of the ball as possible, because you're not going to beat them through the air. I mean, that Bengals passing attack is ridiculous, and you've got Amari Cooper banged up going into this game. Not sure if he'll play. So, they've got to rely on the run game a lot this week.
And yeah, I look, I believe that if you're going to get Amari Cooper going, you've got to go vertical, and for Donovan Peoples-Jones as well. And I just kind of feel like they're going to play close to the vest, and it's going to be one of those things where they're going to end up. It wouldn't shock me if it's like last night's scenario, but I don't expect the Bengals to blow a 16-3 lead with 4 minutes left in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Did you catch that game last night, by the way?
I watched, I think, a little bit of it, but not much. I didn't watch the end. I didn't get to catch that. I fell asleep pretty early. But, man, great game-winning drive by Baker, 98-yard game-winning drive, and touchdown with about 11 seconds, I think it was. So I'm not fully convinced on him. I don't know how well he's going to be with the Rams. But, man, McVay can make it work with not-so-good quarterbacks. We saw him go to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff.
And they do get Mixon back this week as well. So
Bengals do, yeah.
Right. So that's another thing. That's another reason why I was just, of all the lines, that one shocked me the most. We've got to take a really quick break. When we come back, we are going to be getting into prop bets, and we're going to give you our locks. You are listening to WQEE The Key in Noonan, Georgia, 99.1 FM. And we're also streaming on Facebook and YouTube. We'll be back in just a moment.
Bro, Blake, play for the love of the game, man. What's wrong with you, bro? Money should not be a thing. Bro, I'm risking my life. What do you mean it should not be a thing? It 100% should be a thing. And if I get the Rona, on top of that, if I get the Rona, guess what happens with that? The damage that was done to my body, that's going to be there forever. No, I got to get my money. I'm not playing unless I get mine. More Twitch streams for us, that's facts.
Armchair.
The Dixie Handle Company, 5 generations of the Strickland family have produced quality hardwood farm and garden tools, wooden shutters, and custom furniture. This small business has been owned and operated since 1992 and ships to customers across the world. If you're looking for the highest quality tool handles, Dixie Handle Company is your place. Every item is handpicked to your specifications. If it's made of wood, they do it. Call now, 931-722-3395. That's 931-722-3395. Or go online to dixiehandle.com. The Dixie Handle Company. Welcome to Craftsmanship, a proud sponsor of Braves Country Baseball.
How to improve your dining room by the Home Depot. New wood floors, new paint on the walls. Sure, you know us for that. But how about a new dining room table, matching chairs, bar stools? How about free and flexible delivery with easy online returns? Now you can explore decor in a whole new way. Save now on furniture. Everything for your home. Everything from HomeDepot.com. How doers get more done. Limitations apply.
Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, 99.1 FM The Key, your first choice for Southern sports talk.
Anything has the potential to become a DUI checkpoint if you crash your car into it.
Well, the season's finally here, and the players hit the field, and every man feels like a boy, and every wife could kill. 'Cause he's the armchair quarterback. He's
Welcome back.
Beer and he's full of snacks.
Braves Country. We're riding shotgun with you here 3 to 5 p.m. weekdays on WQEE, The Key 99.1 FM in the Atlanta, Georgia market, and then also in Noonan, Georgia. And then also we're YouTube and Facebook and Twitch. We're on Twitch now, although I don't quite understand Twitch, so we're on there. But we haven't really we just started that probably less than a week ago. So there is that. I feel like I'm forgetting another platform, but that the main ones are Facebook Friday. We'll only be here on Fridays, and YouTube. We're here every show. And tomorrow, just quick programming note, 3 o'clock Eastern, Tones and I'll come on a little before to get you set for Army Navy. I believe it's the 121st edition of Army Navy. I believe I have that right. And should be a pretty good game, low scoring game, hard fought game. And I think for once we're actually going to get decent weather, but we'll see. It would not shock me if overnight there ends up being a blizzard, because I swear every time we do this game, it ends up being some kind of a snowstorm. All right, Bobby. Let's get into some prop bets that you might have your eye on. And for now, is there anything that jumps out at you in the Army Navy game?
Not particularly. No, I'm not too. I don't want to make a guaranteed lock or anything like that. I don't want to give bad advice because I haven't kept up with either team much. So I can't say confident that there is one now.
I'll tell you what, it is interesting to me that over the last, I don't know, 2 to 3 days, 2 days probably more like it, that Navy has that the line opened up Monday morning as a pick'em, and Navy's now a 3-point favorite. That tells me that all the money is going on Navy.
Yeah.
And that is a little strange. But when you're the only game in town on Saturday, there's going to be a lot of bets put on that.
Absolutely.
And I'm with you. I've always got a little skin in the game just because I'm going to do the game. I'm going to watch the game. So I usually bet on the over-under because I don't like betting on one team to win.
Mm-hmm.
But that over-under, the interesting thing about that is the last 16 years, the under is has hit.
All 16?
Excuse me. Yeah. All 16.
Wow. Well, if that's any sign, then I'd guess I'd bet the under, but who knows? If the weather conditions hold up, though, that might play, that might have an effect on the score. If all those games in the past have had bad weather, then that could,
So But the interesting part, the one caveat with that, of those 16, if you had today's over under, the under would be only 9 and 7. That's how dramatically they've dropped the over under on that. I'll double check it real quick as far as what the line is today. Let's see if they move. No, it's still sitting there, 32.5. It opened up at 33. And everyone always wants to punch on the over because, 33, man, you can't get 33 points. But then you see these teams play and you're like, man, oh man, oh man.
Sense.
It's rough. It's rough getting there. I teased the over this year because I've got a bunch of other games on it. And I did a 13-point teaser because I did not trust a 9 or 10-point teaser with it. So I've got to get it over 20 points tomorrow. And I don't feel 1,000% great about that because I did not read that statistic until after I laid the bet.
20 points is not a lot to score. So
it's not. So give you an example. The rerun of 2018 was on CBS Sports. What do they call it? CBS Sports Network today. I caught the tail end of it, and I was just doing the math in my head. I was like, they finally cleared 20 points with about 38 seconds to go on a halfback or a quarterback sneak in the end zone.
As low as that spread is, you might be sweating that one out. This
is what I'm saying.
That line.
Prior to that, it was 10-7.
20 points.
That's right. They pushed across. They ended up winning the game 17-7.
Look, if the weather conditions hold up and it's not a snowstorm, then I think you have a good shot to hit 20. But who knows?
I need a couple of turnovers on deep inside their own territory.
Yeah,
from either side. That's what I need to feel a lot better. But when I originally took that spread, I was like, 20. Come on, you can get to 20. Ridiculous. This is gimme. And then the only other thing I have left in that leg is to hit the over with or not the over for the Titans. I think they're getting like 9 points or something like that. But that's the one that I feel is gonna get me. I had the over last night. It teased it all the way down to 31.5. What was the final? 17-16.
17-16, yeah.
Barely. If Baker Mayfield doesn't throw that dime in the deep part of the corner of the end zone, I don't hit the over.
Yep.
The whole thing's cashed. Of course, at the time when I laid that bet, I did not know Baker Mayfield was going to be the quarterback, and at that I was like, "Oh my god!"
Props to Baker though.
What's
props
that?
To Baker. I said props to Baker. That's impressive on a 2-day turnaround. He was on waivers 2 days ago, and now he's winning a game on prime time.
Yeah, no, he got the offense clicking at the end, but it took him forever. And if I would have known what was going to transpire, he wasn't even a Ram when I made the bet. I thought Wofford was going to be the quarterback. I was like, they're going to cover 30. I'm not worried about this. Yeah. Anyways, prop bets, NFL.
Look, I know I'd mentioned. Yeah. I had mentioned the Chargers as my stupid underdog, but an anytime touchdown scorer I like at -105, I believe, when I last checked it, is Jeff Wilson versus the Chargers. Their run defense is one of their flaws, many of their flaws. But, Jeff Wilson, I think he'll get in the end zone. It should be a high-scoring game. The lines, I know it's above 50. It's a really high line, so you can expect touchdowns to be scored. The Dolphins have involved Wilson a lot since they traded for him. And I think, against the Chargers' run defense, he has a good chance to score a touchdown.
All right, I'm looking and see, man, they keep moving the freaking props on and off the board. I don't know if it's because of injuries or what, but I'll tell you what, touchdown scorer, Houston, Dallas. So a pretty safe bet's going to be if you take Zeke -152, CeeDee Lamb is an even, Tony Pollard is a -120. But the guy that I'm going with on this, that I think I'm going to end up hitting this come Sunday morning. I really like Michael Gallup's chance to score a touchdown, and it's a +170. And this is an anytime touchdown.
Didn't he grab a couple touchdowns last week?
He did.
But
But he's only got to get one against that terrible Houston team.
Yeah. And, the Cowboys have been running up the score with no problem in recent games, and they're going against one of the worst teams in the league, so I could very well see that happening.
First touchdown scorer in the game, I really like Zeke at plus 440. Because I do believe it's going to be. And if you want to hedge your bet a little bit, you could also throw some on Tony Pollard at plus 500.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like one of them gets it. And if not, is it CeeDee Lamb at plus 600? Because I do think that the Cowboys are the first team to score a touchdown.
Yeah. I'm with you on that.
If you're feeling really frisky, that Michael Gallup one is plus 850.
Big payout.
All right, Titans and Jaguars. No, we'll be locked into this one.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't find a line for Derrick Henry's rushing yards. I normally look at DraftKings for their player props, but I know Derrick Henry's had a bad couple of weeks. He hasn't been on his A game, but he's going up against a team that historically he seems to just have his way with. I got Derrick Henry going over in this game.
Yeah, well, he normally owns them. I would say his over under will be somewhere around the 110 to 115 range. That's usually what it is when they go up against the Jaguars.
Mm-hmm.
But they've taken some of these off because of the injuries. One of the things trying to get cleared up is whether or not I haven't seen an update. I don't know if you have. If they're saying Trevor Lawrence is supposed to play, but I haven't seen an actual definite yet.
Yeah, and is Etienne, is he still banged up? I haven't quite kept up with that.
He played, so he's expected to play. Now, I don't think. See, this right here will tell you about touchdown scores. Yeah, he's a plus 120 touchdown score, anytime touchdown score. So that tells you he's supposed to play.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry, anytime touchdown score. This will tell you how heavily he's favored in this. Minus 218.
Ooh.
They're basically saying that that's
a guarantee.
Gonna get it. Which is wild because I never see an anytime touchdown score that high.
Mm-hmm.
I'd almost want to know what the I don't have it in front of me, but I'd want to know what the bet would be for him not to score. Because what if he has a couple of long runs, whatever, doesn't get in the end zone,
fumbles it again right in front of the end zone,
somewhat comfortable lead in the third quarter, and then they pull him.
Possibility. I see him getting in the end zone though. I think this is a big bounce back game on the horizon for him. Like I said, he hasn't been great in recent games, but this is his chance against a team that he's historically good against.
Check this one out. Jermichael Hasty plus 440, and they use him a lot around the end zone. They like to dump off passes to him.
They did. Yeah, and if Etienne's even limited in this game, you could see him get some looks. And like you mentioned, in the scenario where the Titans are up big, they know that Etienne's dealing with a foot issue, and that's what held him out his entire rookie year. So, if they're down big early, they might just, send the backups out there and let Hasty get some reps.
All right, some other games of interest. It really stinks that they've pulled most of these props off the board.
Mm-hmm.
But touchdown props, those are usually the ones that everyone kind of gravitates to because all you're trying to do is get a guy stuck into the end zone. But Chiefs Broncos. Now Pacheco is a plus 110. I don't think there's a lot of value there. Kelsey's a minus 136. But if I'm looking for some actual meat on the bone that would give you a chance to score and score big with someone, how about the Kansas City defense or special teams plus 625? Because I feel like one way or the other, I've got them in a few fantasy leagues. That defense is getting in the end zone or special teams.
Well, I tell you what, you made the correct call on a defense special teams touchdown last week, so it'd be wrong for me to doubt your judgment here. This is a good opportunity for him to do that against a terrible Broncos defense. I could see that happening. I could see it happening.
How goofy was that?
That was hilarious. When I watched that, I was like, the ball, it was so close to stopping, and that would have been dead. But heads up play by Georgia, and I texted you after that. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I was jumping up and down the living room because of dollars on that. We'll just put it that way. And I was like, go! The whole time I was thinking to myself, man, they're going to come back and say that ball was down, that it was dead.
Auburn was treating it like an extra point. They forgot. They didn't.
Yeah, they all just kind of froze there. It reminded me. I know you're too young for this, but it reminded me of the old snow game in Dallas on Thanksgiving, where Leon Lett should have let the ball roll dead and off a block kick against the Dolphins in the snow, and he instead decided to jump on it because it was just instinct, and he slid into the ball because of the snow, and the ball popped out and rolled around into the Dallas, I don't know, 10-yard line-ish, give or take. And that enabled the Dolphins to end up winning the game. And it was, back then, the Thanksgiving games were even bigger than they are now. Because back then you didn't have all these different streaming services that everybody watched that game. They just did. Even if you didn't like football, you watched the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving, because there was like 3 or 4 channels and the other ones had nothing on it. So but it reminded me of that, of like, man, I guarantee you coaches go over at the beginning of the season, but they don't harp on it very much about the actual rules of the game. I'll see it in baseball all the time. Little tiny rules that they don't come up very often. So a player, an announcer, a fan gets confused. What the hell was that? They got to go Google it. But yeah, that was wild. Do you have any others before you give me your lock?
It's not a player prop, but I do like Seahawks Panthers to go over 44.5. I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. The Panthers, I know it's been a while since they've had a new coach, but they look like a better team under Wilkes. And the Seahawks, they're still fighting for a playoff spot. I just see this game being high scoring, going over 44.5.
Yeah, and I would I would double check to make sure Geno Smith and Foreman are playing, but if they are, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, make sure Geno's good.
With the late injury, late last night out of nowhere, but hopefully it's nothing. I have to stream him in one league. It's either that or send Mike White into Buffalo, and they're calling for really bad weather there. What is your lock of the week, sir?
My lock of the week, we were talking about the Titans earlier and the possibility of them getting out to a big lead. I don't know how early the lead will be, but I think they win this game pretty handily.
Now, hold on one second. There is one lock that has been taken. I don't think I told you that. Joey took the Titans -3.5. Yeah.
Oh, you got me. I'm going to circle back then to one of the props I like. I'll say Jeff Wilson anytime touchdown at -105, right about even. That's my lock of the week. I know it's rare that I do a player prop as my lock, but with Titans being taken, I'm going with him.
Jeff Wilson?
Jeff Wilson, anytime touchdown.
All right. What is your walk-off?
My walk-off, we got 2 sports here that I'm about to talk about that we don't cover, but enjoy the World Cup happening right now. Biggest event in the world.
Brazil's gone.
Fun. Now Brazil's out of it, and Argentina, Netherlands is on right now, and I'm repping Netherlands. I'm hoping they can pull off a comeback. It's coming down to the wire. But I'm pulling for Netherlands, and I'm still looking forward to whatever games are ahead to follow. And then also tomorrow you got UFC 282. You got a light heavyweight title fight. So an interesting weekend in sports, that's for sure. So tune in.
I caught the tail end of the Brazil game just because somebody tweeted it or something. Anyways, it caught my eye. I was like, wait a minute, they're in extra time, and then I got over there and they went stupid. Get rid of the penalty kicks. Can we get rid of the penalty kicks in World Cup? That is ridiculous. That is like shooting free throws in the NBA Finals to decide who the winner is. That's like let's have a field goal kicking contest at the end of the game for the Super Bowl. I'm like, man, regular season game, okay, but the World Cup, come on.
I tell you what, it's no layup against Livakovic on Croatia though. He's been incredible this World Cup at saving shots, especially in penalty kicks. So.
All right, we will be back in a flash. Tones is going to join us. We're going to talk some more football and a couple of other things as we're taking all the way to the 5 o'clock hour here on The Key. Bobby, we'll see you next week, sir.
See you guys.
You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good afternoon, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Get to your lines. for NFL Week 14. But before that, Army-Navy square off Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll have it right here on youtube.com/@BravesCountry. Midshipmen are a 3-point favorite over the Army Black Knights. Game opened up as a pick'em on Monday. The over-under is 32.5. National Football League week number 14 starts off with the bang as the Jaguars are at the Titans. Tennessee is a 3.5-point favorite over Jacksonville. The over-under is 41. Cowboys at the Texans. The mighty line is Dallas, a 17.5-point favorite over Houston. Over-under 44. Jets and Bills, also a 1 o'clock kickoff. New York is getting 10. The number is 43. Bengals host the Browns. Cleveland has had Cincinnati's number, but they're a 5.5-point underdog. The over-under 46.5. Vikings at the Lions. That number has swung into Detroit's favor. Detroit, -2, over-under 51. Eagles and Giants. New York getting 7, over-under 44.5. And the Ravens and Steelers renew their rivalry. Pittsburgh, a 2-point favorite. The over-under 36.5. 4:05 kickoff. Kansas City is a 9.5-point favorite in Denver. The over-under 44. America's Game of the Week, 4:25 Eastern on Fox. The Buccaneers are getting 3.5 in San Fran, with the number being 37. And Sunday Night Football should be a shootout. Dolphins -3 at the Chargers. LA and Miami 52.5. Monday Night Football, you see the Patriots go west to Arizona. Cardinals are getting 1.5 and the over-under is 43.5. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for Braves Country right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, simulcasting on youtube.com/Braves Country.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Catch Braves Country weekdays 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern right here on 99.1 FM The Key with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Your first choice for Southern sports talk.
That is embarrassing! That is embarrassing! That is embarrassing! That is embarrassing! That is embarrassing!
Dixie Handle Company, 5 generations of the Strickland family have produced quality hardwood farm and garden tools, wooden shutters, and custom furniture. This small business has been owned and operated since 1992 and ships to customers across the world. If you're looking for the highest quality tool handles, Dixie Handle Company is your place. Every item is hand-picked to your specifications. If it's made of wood, they do it. Call now, 931-722-3395. That's 931-722-3395. Or go online to DixieHandle.com. The Dixie Handle Company. Welcome to Craftsmanship, a proud sponsor of Braves Country Baseball.
Whenever I bring home Entenmann's Little Bites muffins.
Little Bites?
That's right, sweetie. Can you just give Mommy a minute?
I love Little Bites.
I know you do, but we're doing a commercial right now, okay?
Got it.
As I was saying, whenever I bring home you know what, you know who gets pretty excited. And so do I. Little Bites muffins are made with real ingredients, no high fructose corn syrup, and are baked moist and delicious.
I love Little Bites.
Here you go.
Yes.
Entenmann's Little Bites Muffins. The perfect portion of happiness.
Here's good news. There's still a need for hundreds of thousands of cybersecurity professionals in the U.S. right now. And My Computer Career is training people to help meet the demand. No IT experience? No problem. Take the free career evaluation today. Start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months. Grants covering up to 53% of the cost are available to those who qualify. It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
You're listening to Braves Country. weekdays 3 to 5 p.m. on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key.
Are you listening?
We are back, and Tones is on his way. He's running a few minutes late, but we'll cover the bases until he gets here. He should be here in just a few minutes. Wait for him to pop into the chat any minute. Week 14 of the National Football League, and you might be wondering, well, what games do I care about? Because when you start talking about laying bets down, I think a lot of folks start focusing on the games that matter. So real quick, if you haven't been paying attention to what the playoffs look like right now as we head into week 14, last night's game had no bearing on it. If you missed the game, I can't believe I actually stuck around to watch that game. I had it on mute, and then I was watching something else on the other TV. I was actually watching sitcoms, but kept looking over. And the only reason why I think I even still kept the thing on, because a lot of times I would have turned it off and just put it on one of the streaming news channels because it was such a boring game, was I needed the over to hit. I started doing the math. I was like, man, neither one of these teams. I'll tell you what, people are going to praise Baker Mayfield, and fair enough. But Derek Carr lost that game. He lost it in the first half. They should have had a much bigger lead than what they had. That game should have never been 16-3 with 5 minutes left in the Rams driving. It never should have been there. That game should have been out of reach. And instead, he had kept having settled for field goals. They would shoot themselves in the foot and turn the ball over. What about that interception right before the half? That very well could have been the difference in the ball game, because it would have made it a 19-3 lead going into the fourth quarter. Bare minimum. He throws an interception with his offensive line getting banged into him, and he still forces the throw. And he floats it up there in the middle of the field, about a 10-yard pass. So very lightly thrown. And there's like 4 Rams right in the middle there. Any of them could have picked that off. So as much as it is a good story for Baker, and I'm not taking anything away from what he did, the finger needs to really go to Derek Carr. Remember that speech he gave a few weeks ago where he was crying and saying, man, it really sucks that we lost after all these guys give such a good effort all week long. Well, yeah, and it's normally because you're turning the ball over. Adams, once again, Devontae Adams looks uncoverable. I mean, he had 2 times. He had Jalen Ramsey draped all over him. Great coverage by Ramsey. One was actually a penalty, but he made 2 unbelievable catches. One was the one-handed catch, and then the other, I will say that was a good pass by Carr. The problem with Carr is you never know what you're going to get out of him. Is he going to be able to do that over and over again? He's usually extremely inconsistent. Extremely inconsistent. Go ahead and I see Tones is now joining us here on the here in the room, and we'll invite him in. And see, he's decked out in his Buccaneers gear. Tones, how are you?
Oh, after the almost heart attack I had on Monday, that was something there, being there live in person in Tampa, being disappointed for that long, and then getting a last gasp within the last 5 minutes, that was satisfying. But I'm all good. It's been a eventful week, a short week for me, as I just got back from Tampa not long ago, and we got an exciting weekend of sports ahead of us, so really amped up for that.
Yeah, I've got so I assume all systems go. You'll be with me tomorrow, right, for the Army-Navy game?
You bet. I can't wait for that. I already started getting word of mouth around a little bit, so I'm really looking forward to calling the Army-Navy game tomorrow with you, brother.
Well, I look forward to that as well. Really cool experience. I hope we get the same turnout, which I kind of suspect we do, that we got last year. We'll probably come on. People have been asking about this. We'll probably come on about 15 minutes early to kind of set the stage, so to speak. Obviously won't be a big breakdown of Army, Navy, but we'll get kind of people understanding like what these teams are about, and then we'll probably talk a little bit of other things. So set your clocks now. We'll be popping in around 2:45. The feed will probably start about 15-20 minutes before that, like it normally does, because I always like to do that in case there's some kind of technical glitch. So if y'all are wondering why everything always pops up at 2:45 when we don't go until 3, that's why. I want to make sure all systems are go. The Bucks have a big game on Sunday. Let's dive into that one first. And then I want to get to this Falcons quarterback. They're finally going to get Ritter a chance to play next week when the Falcons come off the bye. But the game that will take place this Sunday, it's the Sunday game of the week, so everyone should be able to get it no matter where you're at. It's the 4:25 Fox game. Buccaneers at the Niners. Of course, you don't have to face Jimmy G, which is a plus, but they are going to have most of their other guys out there rocking and rolling, and they are so loaded that the Niners are from top to bottom, not just on the defense, but also, I mean, we were joking about it yesterday, but where do you go when you don't have Jimmy G, but you've got Purdy who can probably function on a conservative game plan, but you could also Shanahan's the X factor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it would not shock me if we see some kind of wildcat or a lot of jet sweeps involving not just Deebo Samuel, but I could see CMC in they've got a stable of about 4 running backs that they can throw at you.
Yeah, I could see a lot of mix and matching with the quarterback scenario going on there. And one thing is for certain, no matter who their quarterback is, they're going to be in the football game. Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, Purdy, you name it, these guys are going to go out there and compete. Their defense is always competing. Their running game keeps them in the swing of things. And when you got weapons like Ayuk, Kittle, and, oh, by the way, Deebo Samuel, alongside one of the better left tackles, if not the best left tackle in all of football, Trent Williams, I don't think it necessarily matters as much who's under center. Now, don't get me wrong. Is Purdy consistent or productive as Garoppolo out there? Probably not right now, but you never know down the road if he could turn into that. So I don't think San Fran missing a quarterback is actually the biggest deal for them. They've proved that they could get over that based on the Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo thing. What I'm more interested in is how the Buccaneers adapt to this 49ers offense that is going to be focused around running the football. And you know that the Bucs front seven's usually pretty good and usually pretty alert, but they're going to need that this Sunday if they want to hang in there with the very good, formidable, perhaps favorite of the NFC, the 49ers.
Yeah, right now, what's the line we got on right now? It's 3.5, I believe, right?
Correct, 3.5.
So you got a 3.5, and the over-under was pretty low. Is it 37.5? Is that what I have?
Yeah, last time I checked, it was 38. So same thing, 37.5, 38.
Oh, wow,
right
Caesar's got it down to 37 now, so it's dropping.
Wow.
That's interesting.
That is, because even without a QB, you still figure it's manageable. But then again, if you look at the numbers that the Bucs have scored this year, they've barely crisped 21 points.
What you're essentially saying there is a Niners victory at something like 20-16.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that sounds about right to me, to be honest. I'm steering clear of that over-under. I don't know what to make of that because I could see a situation where that thing clears it, but I could also see where both teams have a hard time moving the ball, and it's 11-10 going into the fourth quarter.
You're right on that. I could easily see this thing being 21-21 late in the fourth quarter and one of these teams needing to step up. And at the same token, I could see it being 10-6 or something like that. So I'm 100% with you. All I do know is this. I do think it's going to be a close game. Not sure what way it'll lean, but I don't think either of these cats are going to blow one another out, especially with the 49ers without experienced quarterback at this point in time.
I like the Niners minus the 3.5, but I don't love it. I'm probably most likely going to tease it.
Mm-hmm. What would you tease it to, you think?
So typically a tease is 6, but I'm probably going to tease it to a 7 and not get as much back. So that's usually at like a minus 140, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then that would mean that they'd be getting 3.5, because if the Bucs win, I feel like it's about like a field goal or less.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't think they're going to blow anyone's doors off. I would be absolutely shocked if that happened. And I'd have given them a better chance to pull this off if Jimmy G got hurt on the first play of this game, right? And then you don't have a full week to get ready for this. But considering the fact that they didn't even put a waiver offer in on Baker Mayfield, tells me that Shanahan feels pretty good about Purdy. And I think I'm leaning towards a 7-point. Usually what I like to do is take two late games and put it on a teaser if I'm going to do that. And I think I'm going to take probably San Francisco on a 7-point tease and add it with the Chargers, giving the Chargers 4 points. I'm sorry. The Chargers would actually get 10 at that point. I don't think the Dolphins are going to go into San Diego and beat them. I really don't. I think the Dolphins are good, but that is a tough ask, back-to-back weeks on the road. And if they do beat the Chargers, they're not going to beat them by much.
And we kind of seen it last week, what you're alluding to, right? Dolphins, very good team, would have him straight up one-on-one with the likes of, a lot of teams at this point. But at the end of the day, when you're going to the road, the West Coast, all the way from Florida, not once but twice in that time span of 2 weeks, and they showed a little lacklusterness last week when Brock Purdy had to enter in the game. I think that the Chargers are a much more formidable opponent. Their vulnerability, the Chargers need this win. I think Staley's going to have him ready to play, although I do think Dolphins are the better team on a neutral turf or in Miami, obviously. That's a lot of points to tease. I think Chargers are going to hang in that one.
Yeah, and, we talked about Bengals and Browns, but once again, I just don't see the Browns hanging close to the Bengals. 5.5 points to me is not big enough. If I'm going to take the Browns, it's got to be a tease. I still don't feel that good about it. I could see that game getting away from them.
Correct. I agree with that. I could see that completely as well. I could see it getting away from him as well. So we'll see what happens there. But all I do know is this: in the AFC right now, you need, if you're hovering, if you're like the Browns or you're the likes of the Chargers right now, these are almost turning into must-win games this late into the season, given the teams ahead of you and whatnot. So a team like the Browns, who looked a little lackluster last week, a team like the Chargers, who's yet to wake up a little bit, it's going to become go time. And before you know it, the stage is going to be set for the playoffs. So a guy in a team like Kevin Stefanski and the Browns have that uphill battle. If they lose, you could almost write off Cleveland, because if you look at the remainder of their schedule and the rest of the AFC, these weeks keep getting tougher and tougher for these types of teams.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take that quick break, and when we come back, we're going to hit the stupid underdogs. We're going to talk a little more lines and some player props, and get deep into Week 14 of the National Football League, as it is a Facebook Friday here on Braves Country on WQEE. We will be back in a flash. Keep it locked in here on 99.1 FM.
Well, don't mind me. I'm just here to install this smoke detector.
A smoke detector? Does that detect any kind of smoke?
Long live the king.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
ACC football covered like no other here on the Armchair Quarterback.
Against the blitz. Touchdown, Florida State. Rock Preston scores the touchdown. And now it's Bowden's decision. And he sends Mowry onto the field right away. Danny Cannell is the holder. Mowry ties it. This game is over. A 31-31 tie. A 31-31 tie.
A deep throw by Lawrence. A lot of contact. Justin Ross broke free from it. He's down in the end zone. Touchdown, Clemson. Justin Ross, a freshman wide receiver, big, rangy, and Trevor Lawrence knows, throw it up against that single coverage, give him a chance to make a play on a 50-50 ball.
If you're a fan of the ACC, pull up an armchair. You're home.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neal, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Welcome back to Braves Country. Weekdays, 3 to 5 p.m. Drive time on WQEE.
Now you will receive us. We do not ask for your poor or your hungry. We do not want your tired and sick. It is your corrupt we claim. It is your evil that will be sought by us. With every breath, we shall hunt them down. Each day, we will spill their blood till it rains down from the skies. These are principles which every man of every faith can embrace. These are not polite suggestions. These are codes of behavior.
And shepherds we shall be.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
Oh, that's all right.
All right, let's get it. About 4:20, smoke them if you got them. We're heading towards the 5 o'clock hour. Happy hour for most folks on a Friday. Feel Good Friday, a Facebook Friday. We will be on the Armchair Quarterbacks Facebook channel. I'm sorry, the Braves Country Facebook channel on Fridays. We're on YouTube every day. And, of course, The Key, WQEE 99.1 FM. And they've got, I believe, the River Dragons hockey. I was looking at the schedule. They're coming up tonight at 7 o'clock. And they've got two games. They've got a game tomorrow as well. I believe that puck drops around 6 Eastern. And we will have on the YouTube channel, we're going to have Army Navy, and Tones is going to join me for the first time on the Army Navy game, and we look forward to that. Should be a good game. They're usually close games, and usually, to me, what these games normally come down to is who doesn't make the big mistake, who doesn't turn the ball over. You don't see a lot of balls thrown. I guarantee that'll be a prop tomorrow, Tones. I guarantee you there'll be a prop of how many passes total in the game, because it was last year. I can't remember what the number was, but it was low. And when I saw it clear, because I was like, I don't watch these teams enough, and I feel like they're trying to trick me one way or the other, so I stayed clear of it.
The guys on a radio show I was listening to earlier were talking about, hey, will there even be amassed 100 passing yards total in this one? So there's going to be a lot of funny prop bets out there for offensive totals. I think Army's team total sits at 12.5 total points. Navy's right around 16 or 16.5. So nothing too crazy expected, which could lead to a lot of fun prop bets.
Yeah, it's over under is 32.5, and the line is now 3. So if you do the math, you're talking about essentially about a 18 to 15 type ball game. 16 to 13 type of ball game. 17. So first 1 to 20 probably wins this game if they can get that far. They normally can't.
Yeah,
okay.
First 1 to 20, no doubt.
Let's get to your stupid underdog pick. Give you a heads up on what has been taken. Bobby just took the Chargers. Doug took Cleveland. I've got the Jets, and Joey took the Giants. So that's all you got right now.
So that leaves me with a bucket of crickets. No, I was mapping this one out a little bit. I knew people would steer clear of the Texans, obviously, and I'm so far behind. I was really considering taking him, but I'm going one more week with let's ride. Denver Broncos, Russell Wilson. I believe they're getting 9.5 points right now at home against the Kansas City Chiefs, and Broncos have been playing a little better football of late. I need to stay in the swing of things because then bowl game season's going to come. Spreads will expand again, and I could maybe get lucky there. I don't think Texans stand a chance against Dallas, so I'd rather punt the potential 6 or 7 points. And not that Broncos are great, but I think that they pose a serious threat this weekend at home to the Chiefs. Give me let's ride country today.
Just give everyone a heads up. Top of the hour, looks like Xander Bogaerts and the Padres are going to have a news conference. You can avoid that by not watching MLB Network because that will be an absolute snore fest. But we still no news on Dansby Swanson, no news on Carlos Correa. I kind of thought Carlos Correa would get signed by today, but we'll see what happens. I believe he's heading to the Giants, by the way. So it's really only 1:30 in the afternoon out there. So don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if when Correa does finally get signed, it's a late night news item.
And what the only excitement and not even too much excitement we've got from MLB today has been what Trevor Williams to the Nationals on 2 years, $13 million. Has that been the only deal cracked today so far?
Only thing of notice, I saw a couple other minor league deals, but yeah, that doesn't really move the needle for me. If he had been signed by a contender to be put in the bullpen, to me that's interesting. But he's going to go out there as their number 5 or number 4 starter, and the Nats continue to tank. The Nats are regrouping. I'd say maybe not even 24, but maybe 2025 is when they'll start get aggressive in the free agent market.
Yeah, that's what.
For folks who don't follow them, they've got money, but their entire team aged all at once, and they lost Harper to free agency, and that started the whirlwind of, well, we got to get rid of Soto now, and Strasburg's neck was all jacked up, and Scherzer's going to be a free agent and doesn't want to pitch for a non-contender. So they were kind of dealt a difficult hand after winning it all in 2019, that they just kind of pivoted. And I think 2025 will be the year that the Nats make it interesting.
Yeah, at the very least, Trevor Williams will be one of those guys they move at the deadline and get a prospect for him. So I agree with you.
Well, it's a 2-year deal now.
Yep, 2-year deal. So if they do move him at the deadline, I guess they could leverage more prospects out of him if he's pitching well, because team control
really well, because I don't know if anyone wants to pick up that second year.
That's fair as well. So nothing crazy, but I agree with you. By the time 24, 25 comes around with all those prospects they've been accumulating by shipping guys off like Trey Turner, Juan Soto, and the likes of that, I think all that goodness should eventually catch up with them and regress to positivity by the year 2025 comes. But you never know with baseball. Sometimes you go to rebuild and you dig a little deeper of a hole than you'd like to.
Carlos Correa right now, along with Carlos Rodon, are the two big free agents that are out there on the market. Both of them, and this is what I was talking about earlier via the comment, Carlos Rodon, his market value right now, and the comment said 5 years, 75, the brace. He's not, are you nuts? Carlos Rodon's market value is $32.4 million.
Who? Yeah,
I don't
that,
think he's going to give him that, but that's where they're staging him at. I think he's more likely to get around the 25 range because he is 30. He turns 30 by opening day. He's 29 right now.
There's no way he makes less money than what the Cubs gave Jameson Taillon, in my opinion. Nothing against him. I love the move that the Cubs made there 4 years for about $68 million. But if you give Rodon 5 for 75, I don't think he's going to be taking less money than Jameson Taillon at this given point in time either. So yeah, 7-year deal.
Only way he signs a deal that is less than $100 million is if it's like a 3-year deal.
Definitely, and that would have to be with who top of the top dog.
I think he's absolutely nasty. Every time the Braves face him, they can't get a hit off him. He is nasty.
And he keeps getting better.
He would play well in that Atlanta stadium because he's a ground ball pitcher. He's a strikeout pitcher. He doesn't, not a lot of fly balls, but there's no way Atlanta's bringing him in at 30 years old for more than like a 1-year, 2-year deal. And he already did that once. He wants to go somewhere, and I think someone like Seattle, San Francisco might decide to pony back up, but I don't think San Fran's trying to get offense because they believe that they've got pretty good pitching and they can piece together pitching because they're big metrics guys. But anyways, let's get back to football. The week 14, go ahead and hit the slate right here. I was talking about the standings of what games are important this weekend. And if you circle, I'll say let's circle 4 games that matter this weekend, right? That matter for the playoffs. It's Buffalo Jets, I think, is number 1. You got Buffalo 9-3, Jets 7-5. If the Jets can beat the Bills, they'll have the tiebreaker on them because they beat them the first time. So that game's enormous. That game is absolutely enormous.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Your Bucks 49ers game, I think that's an enormous game because if the Bucks, well, it's not as big for the Bucks as it is the 49ers. The Bucks are going to find a way to win that terrible division. It's just like the Titans Jags. I'm not that concerned about it because as a Titans fan, I just figure we're going to back our way into that. I'm more worried about the fantasy football end of that game because I've got a lot of shares of Derrick Henry, and this is the final week before the playoffs, and there's a lot of leagues where I need a W to get in. Let's go. I need some Derrick Henry hitting 2 bills and 3 tutties, and come on, let's just knock out whoever I'm playing.
I need Derrick Henry this week too. I have the Titans in my winners pool, actually. Only down to 5 of us left. Winner gets 3,500. So I got my money riding on the Titans this week. Hope they bring it home with Derrick Henry for you.
The other games, okay, we'll take 2 more. We'll consider these big games. Philly in the Giants is big for the Giants. It's not big for Philly. Philly has a cushion. They realistically have a 2-game lead in the division and have a 2-game lead for best record. And I can't say that the Giants expect to win this game, but if they could win this game, it makes their path to the playoffs a lot easier.
It sure does.
10 wins, and they got to find a way to beat Philly.
It's a must-win. Brian Daboll, a lot of people praised him and how great he coached at the beginning of the year, and he's still coaching competently. But this is one of those games where if you want to be one of those coaches who comes in and really gets the locker room behind you in year 1, you go out there and you do anything you can and find a way to beat Philly this weekend and really accelerate your playoff chances at the same time. A lot of eyes will be on New York watching. And for Daniel Jones, how confident are they in him? He needs more wins under his belt. He needs a playoff appearance if he wants to lock in his starting job anywhere in the NFL next season.
And the number 4 game that I'll put on the list, it's Vikings versus the Lions. Vikings are in Detroit. Lions are playing hot. They're actually an underdog. But if the Vikings have any hope of getting home field and getting that first bye. They've got to they got to win games against the Lions because there's realistically 2 games behind Philly. They almost have no margin for error. But Philly still has a matchup. You know, they got to play the Giants. They got to play the Cowboys. I believe the Commanders are still. So the Eagles have a difficult road to go.
And Lions should almost be on a 5-game winning streak right now if it wasn't for that 4 to 5 game winning streak, if it wasn't for the Thanksgiving late failure. They've been playing some good football lately, but at the same token, I don't know if I'd, at the very least, I'd call this a pick 'em. Lions -2, 2.5 seems a little bullish to me, the way Minnesota's played the entirety of the season.
Well, it's seesawed at the beginning of the week. Minnesota was a slight favorite, and now all the money, that just tells you all the money's gone to the Lions.
How do you feel about that? Do you think that's appropriate given the nature of the game, or do you think that sometimes, even though the Lions are the hot hand, Minnesota has to get some respect because of the season they've been having? I could see this game going either way, to be honest.
I think that what you're probably looking at is it feels like a game that's going to come down to who maybe like who has the ball last. Because I don't trust either one of their defenses. Both their offenses are loaded up with great running backs. And I would put Amon-Ra St. Brown, consider him as an elite receiver. Sure, Justin Jefferson's the best in the NFL right now. But Amon-Ra to me is I think the Sun God's top 10.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that. He's really good. And imagine if he had a lot more. I mean, that offense, you see Jameson Williams coming back. You've seen other people make splashes.
So those are the 4 games. Now, looking at the spreads themselves, and week 14, you've got some good. The 4 o'clock window actually sucks because all you have is Bucks 49ers. And if that's not a good game, there's only one other game that day, right? I mean, that afternoon. And it's, I'm sorry, there's 2 others, excuse me. Chiefs, Broncos, and Panthers, Seahawks. Okay. Panthers, Seahawks could be a good game. Not sure what happened here. Panthers, Seahawks could be a good game, but it doesn't realistically get anyone jazzed up. Same thing with the other game. The early kickoff to me is the fun part of it. We've got some interesting spreads. Texans, Cowboys, to me, if you put money on that, Tones, you're looking for action.
Mm-hmm.
Because how can you even quantify how much the Cowboys are going to beat them by? If I was going to go anywhere, I would probably take Houston in the points.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting Mills back behind center. It's in Dallas, so you don't even have the chance of, they're at home. Look out. I just feel like Cowboys are going to methodically beat them down.
And I was looking at this game earlier, trying to find excuses to take Houston for the stupid underdog pick. And I think my internet see me doing that earlier and decided, hey, kick this guy out before you talk about this one. But no, if I were to take one thing from this game in entirety, I would actually take the Texans over total points at 12.5 right now. I think they get 1 clean touchdown, and then I think they backdoor their way into 6 more points more to give them at least 13 on the day. I thought the 12.5 for the Texans was a little low, even though they are a lowly touted offense. But I'm staying away from the Cowboys' perspective. If I was to take anything, Texans that spread or at Texans spread and a teaser would be the way to go for me in this one.
Yeah, I don't even have that. I'm not. Maybe the over, but that would just be the assumption that the Cowboys at 44 points, the Cowboys let up and give them a couple of late scores. Because I kind of see Dallas winning this like 31-10.
I could see that as well.
And you also have to be wary, too, because of what Cleveland did to Houston last week. Could the Cowboys defense be in line to get a defensive touchdown or two? And that could blow right past. If that happens, because I think the offense is going to score at least 3 or 4 times. If that happens, the over is going to get smashed.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to take a real quick break, come back for our last segment before we hit the 5 o'clock hour with Farrell Coast to Coast. When we come back, we're going to give you our lock of the week, and we're going to dive in to some props and talk a little Army Navy. We'll be back in a flash here on WQEE and Braves Country HD, wherever you stream.
What about the assistants on the staff right now? The guys that were there in training camp, the guys that were there early in the morning and late at night, the guys that have gone through the first 6 weeks in that building. Don't they deserve the opportunity for an owner to hire a coach who's never been an assistant at the college level or the pro level and overseeing a lot of candidates that are qualified for that job, as we see in Steve Wilkes, an opportunity to build a resume? It's a disgrace to the coaching profession. And regardless how this thing plays out, what happened in Indianapolis is a travesty. What about the assistants on the staff right now?
I might audible. If I audible, I'll use Omaha! Omaha! Red Polly! Blue Poncho! Dilly! Rambo! Give me Kershaw here, Kershaw!
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Sports Radio.
Top, Japan! Richmond, New York! Richmond, Florida! Sally, Buffalo! Check! Hey, Short Ox! Ludo Raiders! Omaha! Come out!
Hey, can I tell you one thing? That's 3 holding penalties on 1 football team in a quarter and a half. That ain't funny.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by Ed's Almost Good Beer. Remember, Ed's Almost Good Beer was brewed in God's country when God wasn't looking.
It all starts with just one thing. When recycling, rinse out jars and cans, and avoid recycling wax paper or paper soiled with food. This will reduce recycling contamination. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
The Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live. We cover Braves baseball and the rest of Major League Baseball every day. Subscribe and like us today. Your first choice for sports talk live from the First Coast.
Whenever I bring home Entenmann's Little Bites muffins.
Little Bites?
That's right, sweetie. Can you just give Mommy a minute?
I love Little Bites.
I know you do, but we're doing a commercial right now, okay?
Got it.
As I was saying, whenever I bring home you know what, you know who gets pretty excited. And so do I. Little Bites muffins are made with real ingredients, no high fructose corn syrup, and are baked moist and delicious.
I love Little Bites.
Here you go.
Yes.
Entenmann's Little Bites muffins. The perfect portion of happiness.
You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
I didn't think you had it in you.
I'm your huckleberry. Why, Johnny Ringo, you look like somebody just walked over your grave.
Fight's not with you, Holiday.
I beg to differ, sir. We started a game we never got to finish. Play for blood, remember?
Welcome back here to Braves Country. Weekdays 3 to 5 p.m. Wilson Contreras is a St. Louis Cardinal. How does that grab you, Mr. Cub?
Breaks my heart a little bit, hearing his reasoning, hearing his press conference a little bit. He was saying how and it was late in July, and he envisioned himself as a Cardinal based on their traditions and values after the way Pujols hit that home run. And honestly, just distasteful. Hearing that from a guy who's been in the Cubs organization for 14 years, and we couldn't wrap him up and get a deal done with him, as now we only have one World Series member remaining on the roster. He was the last key cog in that department, and it's really going to be weird seeing him play for the Cardinals. And as he was one of my more favorite, appreciated players, it's going to sting that much harder. I'll miss Wilson. I can't wish him well because he's in St. Louis now, but the Cubs and the city of Chicago will miss having him around for sure.
That's the way I'll feel wherever Dansby ends up at. It's the way I feel with Freddie. Still a Freddie Freeman guy, but do not wish him well as far as wins and losses.
Correct.
He can go ahead and have a great career, go to the Hall of Fame, whatever. But I don't want to see him win anything, especially as long as he's wearing Dodger blue.
We're in the same predicament in that one pretty much. Freeman goes to the Dodgers. Willie goes to the Cardinals. We love these guys, but see you later when it comes into winning and losing right now.
And if Dansby leaves Atlanta, first time we face him, I expect someone to put one high and tight. Let's go. All right, week 14, we're rolling towards it. And got the stupid underdog picks. Let's go ahead and get our locks, and then we'll talk some other lines because I don't want to have to cram that in last second. Let me see. Who do we have that has? Okay. I'll let you go ahead and grab first. So far, you got the Titans were taken, and a Jeff Wilson touchdown was taken as the locks.
Wow, some interesting maneuvers there. I'm going to go with, for my lock of the day, actually, I'm going with, I have it written down right here, the over in Carolina, Seattle. It's currently sitting at 44 and a half points in that one, I think. And Geno Smith and the Seahawks have been putting up points. And ironically, whoever's been in helm in Carolina, whether it's Sam Darnold or PJ Walker, have been doing a decent job as well. So I'd see that one get into about 47, 48 points, giving you just enough cushion. But I do really like that over. To me, 44 and a half even is a little low for an offense that includes Seattle's this year.
And breaking news here just happened about less than 10 minutes ago. Geno Smith, his shoulder injury, the injury tag has been taken off of him. So it looks like he's good to go for Sunday.
Fits into that over a little more.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about it in the first hour, Bobby and I, and he was talking about how much he liked the over in that. And I preface it with saying that if Geno plays and Foreman plays, which I'll get an update on him here in a second, then I really like it. If they don't play, then I'm a little skittish. But the fact that Geno's going to play, we should get a fairly high scoring game.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned it earlier. That's one of the games that is on the late slate, and I don't have a lot of interest in it, but I do have interest in it when it comes to fantasy, because I have to stream Geno in a league. Oof.
Wow.
That is not fun. That is not fun at all.
What league is that in for you? An important one, or is that one that you don't?
I mean, it's a money league.
All important.
My quarterbacks stink. I don't even remember who I originally started with. I think it was Kyler Murray. I gave up on him, and I had Deshaun Watson. But after seeing him in the first week of play, I can't trust him.
Mm-mm.
And I'm going to have to either go him or I have to go Mike White. Mike White, if the weather was a little better, I'd be willing to lean that way, but I can't do it.
I think I'd go Geno over Mike White.
You got to, because the weather's supposed to be atrocious. If it was good weather, I would be looking at it at the game script. They're going to be behind. He'll be chucking it all over the place. There is a league where I have to start Mike White, but real quick on those injury updates, give it to you real quick. Mike Williams is not listed on the injury report. Derwin James is listed as doubtful. See other bigger names. Scroll past. Kenneth Walker is still listed as questionable. He'll be a game time decision. DK Metcalf is questionable. Greg Dortch of Arizona practiced fully today, and Rondale Moore did not. DeAndre Hopkins' illness listed as a full practice participant, so that's big. And Jeffrey Simmons of the Titans, he's still listed as questionable.
I know Lenny F didn't practice today either.
Kadarius Toney is still questionable. Sutton is ruled out. Cortland Sutton. Joe Mixon, not on the injury report, which was expected. T. Higgins is good to go. Hayden Hurst is listed as out. Trevor Lawrence still listed as questionable. That's big. I thought by now he'd be good to go. Tua's ankle injury won't be a factor in week 14, they're saying?
Yep. That's what I'm seeing the same thing on that as well.
Tyreek Hill is good to go. Illness. Lamar Jackson officially out. No, officially doubtful. Man, can we take him out? They're saying he's out to 3 weeks. Can we put him out?
For real. And doubtful this late in the week. I mean, when you're already
betting lines, it's fantasy, it's everything.
Yeah, it's really not cool at that point. So, yeah, mark him out. Everyone knows he's down and out. Even he knows that. So, he's not playing.
TJ Watt, questionable. Deontay Johnson, questionable. So, those are two. But Najee Harris says he will play. And Damian Harris not trending good. He was not seen on Friday. Dante Foreman not listed on the injury report, so he is good to go. And David Njoku is good to go. Good luck trusting that crap. I ended up streaming the Denver tight end because I was like, I don't want any part of this, man. I am not trusting Njoku. When I originally picked him up weeks ago, the thought was, well, okay, Deshaun Watson's going to be there, but you can't roll him in the league that I had to drop him. We're actually in the playoffs. We have a 2-week playoffs. So the first round's 2 weeks and the championship is 2 weeks. I'm like, I am not going to be down by 30 because I started Njoku and he gets like 1 target with no catches.
He leaves hobbled after like a play. I did that earlier this year with Mike Williams, and he was deemed all but good to go. And then, a couple plays into the game, he was taken out, especially in these winner go home type weeks, week before the playoffs in fantasy. It's better to play it safe than sorry. Why risk it when so much is on the line? These guys might not even play a whole quarter, let alone the whole game.
Okay, I guess I need to make my lock. I have been on the fence on which one I was going to take. I was hoping one of y'all was going to take one of the other ones, so just make I get painted in a corner. I have to take it. I'll go ahead and I hate taking my stupid underdog pick and my lock on the same one. I'm going with it. Jets plus 10. Give it to me. Let's go.
Sometimes doubling down is the way to success.
And sometimes you get 2 losses, but 31 degrees right now here in Orchard Park, and they're saying they're expecting it in the 30s on Sunday, high 30s with a chance of precipitation / snow.
Yeah, that doesn't sound. Remember last year we did a game and it was so cold. Mac Jones had to wear a scuba suit. It sounded like a little bit of fun
want to
weather.
know before kickoff, what is the wind? If it's bad wind, like the game you're talking about, the over-under is 43. There's no way they get to it.
No chance.
And the wind coming, never mind. When Cleveland plays at home, I'm always looking at their wind because when the wind whips off the lakes there in Cleveland, Ohio, no one can throw the ball.
Oh, man, and those things are close. You don't realize how close the stadium is. That puppy's literally sitting on the lake, so absolutely that thing gets cold, as you could imagine, and no one could score, so I'm going to keep an eye on that over-under as well, just in case.
So evidently Garrett is cheating at fantasy. He's 9-4, and his quarterback is Mahomes.
Hey, there you go, Garrett. Well, great quarterback to have, and your record backs that up.
I never draft quarterbacks early, and it usually pays off. This year it did not.
I'm in your boat as well.
Quarterbacks, and man, it has been rough.
It's like if you don't have a top 3 to 5 of them, then it's officially not looking good. And the Texans officially just ruled out Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins, their top 2 receivers, and their so,
bang the under.
Yeah, bang the under there. I think I used to like their over at 12.5 points. I don't know if I like that as much anymore.
That line's going to get to 18.5. I guarantee it now.
And their number 1 cornerback, Derek Stingley Jr. is out as well.
Oof.
Could be a bloodbath in Houston or in Dallas.
All right, I'm going to hit you with the few. rapid fires before we have to run off here, and just give me who you're taking, and I'll do the same. Army, Navy -3 tomorrow. We're doing the game.
Army.
I'll take Navy -3. I don't love it because I feel like it's going to be a 2-point win one way or the other, but I'll take Navy. We can talk about this game a little bit. Seattle -3.5 at home against the Panthers. Looks like everybody's good to go.
I would take Seattle. More important right now.
I think I like the Panthers in the points only because Seattle's defense has been a sieve. And I want to say it's 4th or 5th worst against the run is Seattle's defense. That's going to be a big factor. I'll save the Monday night game for Monday night. Dolphins Chargers. Miami -3.
Oh, I'm going with Miami with the -3. If I teased it, I'd do the Chargers like you.
I think the Chargers are going to get the W, so I'll take the win. But what I really like, and I'm really interested in, is where that over-under is going to sit because it's 52.5 right now. If it goes just down a little bit, I want to grab it. It'll most likely go up. Falcons are off, so what about Jaguars, Titans, Tennessee -3.5?
I like Tennessee there. I like them a lot.
I think they'll be energized after getting rid of John Robinson, and there's no better way to re-energize the Tennessee Titans than for them to host the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Correct.
I'm not trying to trash the Jaguars. I know there's a lot of Jaguar fans out there, but history shows Tennessee owns them. And until I see differently, it is what it is. Last one before we have to jump out of here. Ravens Steelers. No Lamar Jackson, though they're calling him doubtful. He's not playing. It's going to be Huntley versus Pickett. Pittsburgh's -2.
Give me Pittsburgh -2. They're playing good football right now, and without Lamar,
I agree. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think they find a way to win. And one more bonus one, Giants-Eagles. Got to do this one. Giants are getting 7 at home.
Giants, I think they come to play. Will they win? Not sure, but they'll play tough.
I do too, and I think that over hits. The over-under is 45.
I'm going with the over in that one as well.
Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and start to jam out of here. Top of the hour, we've got the Farrell Coast to Coast, and we will be back tomorrow, 3:00 Eastern. And also, we are doing the Army Navy game. We'll probably come on about 2:45 to do a little pregame show. And also, we're here weekdays 3 to 5. Please like and subscribe. Great job once again, sir. And we will see you tomorrow.
Have a great night, Mac. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good weekend and go crack you a cold one.
Crack them.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks on 99.1 FM WQEE, The Key in Newnan, Georgia, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@Braves Country. Braves Country comes your way weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Please follow, like, and subscribe today. Armchair Quarterback Radio, your first choice for Southern sports.
Something of the 5th of September. Something of the 5th of September. She said a lot that I can't remember. Something of the 5th. Can I get another cigarette, please? Can I get another cigarette, please? Yeah, I know I live to regret it. Just give me another cigarette, please. Can I get another cigarette?
You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes 1 free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
Hey, sports fans, The Key has a brand new show. Braves Country is coming your way weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We'll be talking the Atlanta Braves and Major League Baseball, along with everything important to sports fans in Braves Country. The SEC, ACC, Big Ten, and the National Football League, and the big sports news of the day. That's Braves Country with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE, The Key, 99.1 FM, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@Braves Country.